Kick things off with the big one, the crown jewel down in South Florida for their entire meeting, the championship meeting at Gulfstream. It was the 14th race on Saturday, the Grade 1 Florida Derby. Let's take a look at that field. The 3-year-olds going 9 furlongs. Post-time favorite was Hidden Scroll. He was bet down to odds of 9-5 based on that most recent run in the Fountain of Youth where he set a wicked pace, paid the price late, was run down by Code of Honor and Bourbon War. Both of those horses were back in this spot as well. Many people looked at those three and said one of those three is going to be the one that gets the job done. Ultimately, it was a fresh face that prevailed. Here's the stretch run of the 2019 Florida Derby.
Maximum Security cuts the corner and opens up. Maximum Security, less than a quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 on top. Second is Bodie Express. He's running a huge race down at the inside in Code of Honor. Hidden Scroll at a 1-pace. Bourbon War on the outside. But Maximum Security proves he's the real deal with a gate-to-wire win in the Florida Derby. Bodie Express was second. Code of Honor
Maximum
finished third.
Security in gate-to-wire fashion. He gets the job done at odds of 9-2. Bodie Express runs second at odds of 71-1. Code of Honor third at odds of 7-2. And your fourth place finisher is Bourbon War at odds of 5-2. The post-time favorite, Hidden Scroll, he finishes sixth at 9-5. We'll talk about him and the other horses more momentarily, but let's start off with the winner in here. Maximum Security. He is unbeaten thus far from 4 lifetime starts. Really hasn't done anything wrong throughout his career. He's got a fair amount as far as earnings are concerned, just under $650,000. You take a look at a couple different things. He's owned and bred by Gary and Mary West Stables Incorporated down in Kentucky. He's trained by Jason Service, ridden to victory by Luis Saez, and you see the pedigree at the bottom of the horse card. He's by New Year's Day out of an Anasheed mare named Lil Indy. A couple things with Maximum Security that are going to be interesting to sort of handicap going forward as we go farther along this Kentucky Derby trail. Because right now, he is in. The top 2 finishers, they lock themselves in as far as points are concerned. Maximum Security and Bodie Express, if they want to go and if they are in good form, they're in to the starting gate for the Kentucky Derby. They're in the top 20. Maximum Security is a horse that debuted for a maiden claiming tag of $16,000. It's been well documented. I believe Mike Watchmaker wrote about it in his weekend column on Sunday. You can find that over on DRF.com. That Maximum Security wasn't even the favorite in a bottom-level maiden claiming race, just 4 starts back. And now 4 starts later, he's a Grade 1 winner in arguably one of the most productive Derby preps leading into the Kentucky Derby historically. The Florida Derby has got a pretty good track record. The 101 Beyer speed figure that he earned in here, very, very solid. This is on the heels of a 102 that he had earned going 7/8 of a mile most recently. You look at the Timeform US ratings, the raw number is a 120, but pace adjusted, it's turned down to a 116. The reason that I keep saying that this is going to be an interesting sort of case study going forward, you look at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, Timeform US had the main track intensely speed favoring, and every single fraction of this race in the Florida Derby was color-coded blue, meaning it was helping horses that were on or near the early lead. No surprise, the first 2 horses, they were 1-2 the entire way in this race. So Maximum Security, it's difficult, based on what you've seen on the track. He looks like a really nice horse. He looks like he can run. It's difficult to project forward. How is he going to handle better horses, a more adverse pace situation? Because it seems almost assured that you're not going to get a situation or circumstance like you got on Saturday, the first Saturday in May. It just seems like that is highly improbable, put it that way. But then also, you do have to look at this horse and say, well, how, and I understand, I believe Jason Service was the one that said that since he was a homebred, they could gamble a little bit more, and that's why they dipped him in so early, or so low rather. I just look at it and go, either it was a gross underestimate of how good this horse was, or, I mean, how, if you thought that this was even remotely possible, you wouldn't have even dangled him in for 50, a maiden 50 tag, let alone maiden 16. I find it difficult to believe that connections of this level with a trainer, again, you make your decision and thoughts. I'm not going to try to influence your opinion one way or the other on the connections. But from a training standpoint, for someone that's clipping off at 46% for the entirety of that championship meeting, to debut a horse at maiden 16 and have him be a Grade 1 winner 4 starts later, that just seems like a gross error in assessment of how good this horse is. How does that even happen? I mean, you got away with it. Good on you. But I just look at that and go, how did you, let's say it for what it is, how did you screw that up as badly as you did? There's no way that if a horse is this good that he should have been debuting for a $16,000 maiden claiming tag. That just seems asinine to me. As far as the race itself is concerned, it was a big effort, but he had so many things go in his favor, and the same can go for Bodie Express. The pace situation was advantageous for them, and the main track was advantageous for them. The pace situation then also dulled the late kicks of Code of Honor and Bourbon War, who came and rallied for third and fourth. So this is going to be a very, very difficult race, I think, going forward to make a call on what you think just about the overall quality of it. I look at Maximum Security and I say, look, maybe he is just a freak. Maybe he is, the next big thing, because every one of his races, he's looked awesome. He won by 3.5 lengths in this spot. He's won by open lengths in all 4 of his starts. So it is entirely possible that he is just that good. But at the same time, I do look at it. If you liked Code of Honor before and you liked Bourbon War before, I think you have to continue to like them here. Now, the thing that concerns me about Code of Honor, I said it in the preview show last week, and I've said it for a long time, I'm fearful that as the distances get longer, he won't necessarily excel. Perhaps it was circumstances, but John Velasquez hit him left-handed with about a 16th of a mile to go. He ducked out. He swapped leads. He corrected himself back to his right lead. But it's one of those things that if I had already had those feelings prior to this race, and I recognize he didn't have a great circumstance as far as the pace is concerned, or the main track, the way it was playing, I don't know that I love the prospect of that going forward with an extra 1/8 of a mile to deal with here in about 5 weeks. Having said that, with Bourbon War on the flip side, I thought he put in a very visually impressive move on the far turn. He was wide, he was set down, and he finished willingly. I like the fact that of the final 1/8 of a mile, when you take a look at the top 4 horses, Maximum Security came home in 12:52, Bodie Express 12:61, Code of Honor 12:56, Bourbon War came home in 12:35. So he came home significantly faster, about a length faster than any of the top 3. And to me, that he continues to project forward that, you know what? And I said it going into this race on Thursday on the preview show. I said, he may still be the one you want coming out of this race long term. Going into it, I just didn't think that the pace situation would end up being advantageous. Now, I bring up the pace situation because we have to get to Hidden Scroll. Breaking from the inside, going 9 furlongs at Gulfstream, you're basically running into the first turn. He broke alertly, and he still wasn't on the lead. Maybe this was the instruction now to sit and rate. Keep in mind, me going back, and I was one of the folks saying I didn't understand the ride on him in the Fountain of Youth, where you could have sat off of 130 to 1 shot and just taken over whenever you wanted. Now, perhaps the horse doesn't have that ability. He backed up pretty badly here. This was a disappointing effort no matter how you chop it up. But at the same time, I'm not, you can, I think you need to know the circumstance. And again, I'm not pointing fingers at trainers or riders or whatever, but it is what it is. This is what happened. I look at his circumstance like this, and if the fractions were this slow and you broke on top, why wouldn't you go on with it? Why would you be so hell-bent on taking back and getting cover? I don't need, I said, okay, what are we going to learn if Hidden Scroll goes out there on Saturday? He goes right to the front. He goes gate to wire. He opens up and wins by 5. You're not going to learn anything really about his ability to rate or his ability to sit and, for going into the Kentucky Derby. But the point is, if you wanted to get to that point, take advantage of the circumstance presented to you. Take advantage of the trip that Maximum Security got, where there was no speed. He went right to the front, and he opened up, and he won impressively. I feel like that should have been Hidden Scroll, but they were very, very intent on pulling him back and rating him. In hindsight, was it a tactical error? Yeah, I think it was. Does it mean that he can't sit? Perhaps. It's entirely possible. Perhaps he's just a wet track freak. Perhaps he's not as good as many people thought he was, myself included. I don't know, but I don't know that this was the time to find out if he could rate. That's my only thought, is that you probably should have done it last time when you had a target that was probably going to come back to you no matter what, to sit off of that one and go on with it. This time around, you're drawn to the inside, your speed nearest the rail. Now isn't the time to be doing that, in my opinion. Now is the time to go, get the job done, and you know what? However the chips fall in the Kentucky Derby, the chips fall. But I just feel like I would have loved to have seen a reverse of the trips for Hidden Scroll in each of his last 2 races. It sounds like they're going to campaign him at shorter distances. Maybe that's going to be the answer. Who knows? But I still maintain that I think this horse has ability. Maybe he's not nearly a top-level 3-year-old, but I still think there's something there. As far as the rest of the field is concerned, not a lot to add. The pace compromise, a number of the horses trying to come from off of it. I thought a decent effort from Garter and Ty, and I know it looks terrible that he finished 10th, and he was, forwardly placed with the whole pace situation, but he actually put in a bit of a mid-move rounding the far turn well wide. I've always maintained he is going to be a shorter horse, a 1-turn mile or 7/8 of a mile. So to me, I kind of appreciated the effort here. He put in a little bit of a bid and he flattened out. He's not a 2-turn horse in my opinion. I think you get him back to 1 turn, he could be effective. I don't know that he'll be a graded stakes type, but I wouldn't fault the connections if they chose to go to a race like the Pat Day Mile, like the Woody Stevens, anything like that, or take a chance just to find out. This is going to be a fascinating race going forward to make a decision one way or the other. Are you a believer in Maximum Security? Do you think he is the real deal? Do you think he can go on? He has shown that he can sit, albeit against much, much weaker horses. What's going to happen when he has to sit off of talented horses? But to date, look, he's done nothing wrong through 4 lifetime starts. Bodie Express, say what you will. Yes, he is a maiden, but he has earned the points to get into the Kentucky Derby. And if we all sit here and herald the point system as sort of the great equalizer and you're going to get the best of the best, I can't sit here and argue that, he doesn't deserve to be there. He's run 2 relatively fast races in the past 2 times. He earned a 96 here, and 2 starts back, he earned a 91. He continues to trend the right direction. I thought he'd be interesting here underneath. That's one where I will pat myself on the back. If you listened, you should have scored something decent as far as an exotic is concerned with him running second at 71-1. And the 3rd and 4th place finishers, I wouldn't give up on them yet, Code of Honor or Bourbon War. I prefer Code of Honor going shorter. I will maintain that until otherwise. And Bourbon War, Sneaky, he's the one that I think coming out of this race I still maintain he might be the one. If I'm picking one horse out of this race for the Kentucky Derby, perhaps it is Bourbon War because of the running style, because he's going to get a better situation theoretically, and as well because I think there is a little bit more quality in that the distance, I don't think that's going to be an issue for him. We have a lot going on here in a short amount of time. I was just hopeful for a formful result. I suppose you got a formful result, but it's going to be interesting to see from you as a handicapper. How do you go about interpreting this race, given the pace situation, given the track, and given the way horses were ridden, so many different things? It gets to be a more and more intriguing 3-year-old trail into the Derby. We'll find out. Hopefully this coming Saturday, things get a little bit clearer with those big races at Santa Anita, Keeneland, and Aqueduct. What we do know, though, Maximum Security, he's gone from a maiden $16,000 runner to a Grade 1 winner in 4 starts. He is the winner of the Grade 1 Florida Derby here in 2019, a 101 buyer, and a 116 pace-adjusted Timeform US rating.